Hello and welcome to the history of professional wrestling in Ireland. Here we look at different aspects of Irish wrestling from the past and the impact that it has had. In part 1, we looked at the life and career of Danno O'Mahoney from his early life right up until his first US match. This is part 2. So we left off the last episode with Danno's first US match. Danno's promoter, Paul Bowser, and the other promoters had been at odds with each other for years, but around this time they had started working together more as a collective, and they generally agreed that Jim Londos was the main world champion. So much so that he even had a payoff in his contract of $50,000 if he was to drop the belt. In spite of this, various promoters were still grooming who they wanted to be the next champion, and this included Danno. So after Danno's first win, he then went on a 49-match winning streak leading up to a match with Londos. In one of these matches, he went against Dick Sackett, who went into business for himself. He ignored the plan and stiffed O'Mahoney up, leading to Dick breaking 2 of his ribs. This match would end up with the Irish Whip winning by disqualification. During this winning streak, Danno beat up a host of names, building up to the match with Londos. On the 27th of June 1935, at Boston's Fenway Park, Danno, in front of a red-hot Irish crowd, beat up Londos to become the New York State Commission World Heavyweight Champion, a title recognized by the National Wrestling Association. Londos himself, who hadn't lost a match in over 6 years, put Danno over massively, saying after the match, "I knew after the first 5 minutes I would be lucky to win. The kid is green, but with his strength I believe he can beat any man in the world. And when I took the bout, the New York people told me I would have nothing to fear. I wish I knew as much before I signed, and this bout would never have taken place." But Danno's winning streak did not stop there. Whilst defending the belt against opponents, he then went on to capture and unify the titles when he captured the AWA World Heavyweight Championship. This was done in somewhat controversial fashion. You see, the match had an inexperienced referee who did not count out Danno, and then Danno went on to win the match. This led to a rematch which Danno won. This would be O'Mahoney's 70th win in a row. After this, O'Mahoney married Esther Burke, whom he met in Boston, and on the 11th of October 1935, he defeated the only man who held a win over him in Ed the Strangler Lewis. But O'Mahoney's title reign was not the roaring success that Bowser had thought it would be. You see, the crowd started to turn on him, leading to booing and drops in attendance. Promoters were also becoming sour at the thought of having a unified title, as it only meant one promoter could book the world title at a time. In November, he wrestled his old foe in Ernie Dusick to a draw. This was his first non-win in the US, and to compound matters, he was also having some visa troubles. While touring the country in 1936, O'Mahoney started to encounter promoters who were double-crossing him. Informed that an opponent planned to hook and injure O'Mahoney in their match, O'Mahoney and his manager simply left the building. This eventually led to him being stripped of the title by the NWA. Not that NWA. In March 1936, he lost his AWA World title to Dick Sackett. Once again, Dick went into business for himself to genuinely hurt O'Mahoney. Following this, Dick also put this title for sale to various promoters, but Bowser was Sackett's promoter and booked him straight into the ground. O'Mahoney continued to be recognized as the AWA champ in Boston. He eventually lost this title on the 16th of July 1935. 2 days later, he set sail for home, and when he arrived in Cork, he arrived to a hero's welcome. After this, he was back and forth from the US to Ireland quite a bit. By 1937, O'Mahoney started to be used as a guy to get other guys over and started to suffer losses and draws. He eventually moved to Los Angeles, opened a restaurant, and wrestled locally. He returned permanently to Ireland in 1950, but tragically lost his life in a car accident 5 weeks after coming home. In 2001, a statue was erected in his honour in the centre of his hometown of Ballydehob. This was to celebrate Cork's first ever world champion. So there you have it, a look at Ireland's first megastar in professional wrestling. This was part 2 of Danno O'Mahoney. If you liked the video, please let us know, and until next time, slán.